Some people are born into privilege. Some people are handed opportunities on a silver platter. But the people who change history, the people who leave behind a legacy that inspires generations, they are the ones who rise against all odds. Every great story of human triumph begins with adversity. It's easy to admire those who have achieved greatness, but what we often overlook are the struggles they endured to get there. Their journeys weren't smooth. They were filled with failures, heartbreak, and moments where giving up seemed like the easiest option. But they didn't give up, and neither should you. Consider the story of Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, he sat inside a prison cell. His crime? Fighting for the freedom and dignity of his people. Think about that. 27 years. Entire decades of his life were stolen from him. Most people would have given up hope. Most people would have let bitterness consume them. But not Mandela. He emerged from that cell without anger in his heart, but with an unshakable resolve to rebuild a nation and heal its wounds. He refused to let the odds define him. And what about Helen Keller? She was blind and deaf before her second birthday. Imagine a world of silence and darkness. Most would say that a person living under those circumstances had no chance at an extraordinary life. But she defied every expectation. She became a writer, an activist, and a symbol of hope for millions. Why? Because she refused to accept that her limitations would define her future. The truth is, life will test you. It will knock you down. It will make you question whether you have the strength to keep going. But the people who rise, the people who beat the odds, understand one thing. Your circumstances do not control your destiny. Your decisions do. Look at Thomas Edison. The man who gave us the electric light bulb didn't succeed overnight. In fact, he failed over 1,000 times before finally achieving success. But when asked about his failures, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." That is the mindset of someone who refuses to surrender. History is filled with stories like these. Stories of people who faced impossible odds and still found a way to succeed. But here's the truth no one tells you. The people who rise against all odds aren't special. They aren't superhuman. They are ordinary people with an extraordinary belief. The belief that no matter how hard life gets, there is always a way forward. Take Malala Yousafzai, for example. At the age of 15, she was shot in the head simply for wanting to go to school. Most would have been silenced by fear. But Malala, she stood up. She used her voice to fight for the education of girls around the world. And today, she is a global symbol of courage. Why? Because she refused to let fear define her. And let's talk about Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer of all time. People know him for his confidence and his skill in the ring. But what many forget is how much he sacrificed outside of it. When he refused to be drafted into the Vietnam War, he was stripped of his titles, banned from boxing, and faced the possibility of prison. Still, he stood firm in his beliefs. Because sometimes, standing up for what you believe is more important than personal gain. These stories prove one thing. The only limits that exist are the ones you accept. The human spirit is stronger than any obstacle. But the question is, will you rise when everything is against you? You might not be fighting for a nation like Mandela. You might not be overcoming physical challenges like Helen Keller. But your fight is no less important. Maybe you're battling self-doubt. Maybe you're struggling with failure. Maybe life has knocked you down so hard you can barely stand. But here's the truth. You have the power to rise. When the world says you can't, your job is to prove them wrong. When life pushes you down, your job is to get back up. Again and again. Because the people who make history aren't the ones who have it easy. They are the ones who refuse to quit. Think about Serena Williams. She grew up in Compton, a place where the odds of becoming a tennis champion were almost non-existent. She faced racism, criticism, and setbacks that would have made anyone else walk away. But instead of backing down, she doubled down on herself. And because of that, she didn't just play the game, she changed it forever. What about Stephen Hawking? Diagnosed with ALS at the age of 21, doctors gave him only a few years to live. Most people would have accepted that as a death sentence, but Hawking didn't stop. Even as his body failed, his mind soared. He redefined our understanding of the universe, because no illness could contain the power of his will. And here's what you need to understand. You are no different. Whatever you're facing right now, you have the ability to overcome it. You have a fire inside you that no obstacle can extinguish. But it starts with a choice. The choice to fight. The choice to believe that your life is still worth fighting for. Because the truth is, your comeback story is waiting to be written. No matter how far you've fallen, no matter how impossible the road ahead looks, you can rise. But no one can do it for you. It has to come from within. And it starts today, right now. So ask yourself, what are you willing to fight for? What dream is worth the struggle? What life are you willing to build against all odds? Because history has already proven one thing. The people who refuse to quit are the ones who change the world. And one day when people tell the story of your life, what will they say? Will they say you gave up when it got hard? Or will they say that you faced every challenge, every failure, every impossible obstacle, and you rose anyway? The choice is yours, and it starts now, because against all odds, you can rise.